It's me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most wholesome Nintendo podcast on the internet. It's the Nintendo Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Console K. Wait a second. It's Justin Masson from the Nintendo Dads, and on our journey today, we are not getting Zelda this year, my friend, so jump on in for a wild ride on the Nintendo Drive. Boom! Here we go! Hello, Justin Masson, my fellow Canadian. How are you, my friend?
Sean Capri, my favorite Canadian that lives north of me in Edmonton, Alberta. I am well. Thank you for having me on today. I love getting in this vehicle with you. It's fantastic.
It's very nice. I actually was somewhat expecting you to be in a car when I called you on Skype, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I figured you might surprise me a little bit today.
Legitimately, I almost was. I had to actually drop a friend off at a doctor's appointment, and I was like, I may be making this call from my car, and I figured it was part of the theme.
Yeah.
But no, I was able to make it home safely.
Well, it's nice because, yeah, I see you on Nintendo Dads, and you never know when you're going to call in. Are you in the basement? Are you taking your family
all over
out?
The place.
Yeah, man.
Right? I like to keep them on their toes.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like just every once in a while, Beetlejuice pop in, give my opinion, and then I zip out. And every time I do that, like my phone's about to die. I don't know what's wrong with my phone battery. I got to check that too.
Yeah, you got to have one of those. They got those fancy wireless battery charger things now, like those. You get those battery packs. You get it going. Well, I'm glad that I've got you on the show because it seems like I can secure you on this show. The Nintendo Dads can't even get you.
I know, right? Well, the reason is my cost of rider is becoming so much higher, right? And so, but like for you, I like you, so it's free.
Appreciate
for them. I'm charging them to have me on my own show. So there's a business model there that's not working well for me, I'm sure.
I was about to prepare my full entire glass bowl and jar of brown M&Ms for your rider because I know you're very specific.
Yes. I'm very specific about my M&Ms. Brown is my favorite of all the M&Ms.
Very chocolatey. That's the extra chocolate.
And usually the 2% glass of milk that you need with it is also
2%.
Right? Very specific.
Is that your preference? Is that your preference on milk?
If you're having chocolate, you got to be having a glass of milk.
Yeah.
Chocolate and peanut butter, got to be having a glass of milk.
But it's the 2%. Like you're not 1%. You're not skim. You're an almond.
I actually think we are 1%, but 2 was the number that came to mind. I don't know why that was.
It's childish. It's like that's what we had. It's that step down from the homo milk. Just very thick.
When we were living in Ireland, they have this milk, and they actually it's just milk in grocery store. And they say they have extra vitamins in it, like vitamin D.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't get a lot of vitamin. Is it D or C? The sun. Whatever the sun one.
Yeah, D is in milk. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, best tasting milk I've ever had in my entire life.
Look at that.
Yeah. And I was like, how do I get this back in Canada? And I could, but it'd be like $12 a carton.
Yeah.
So then I made decisions not to do that.
I have to make decisions on how much milk at a given time, man. That can be, it's nutritious, but it attacks me a little.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah. It's not good. And because I'd actually like chocolate milk. Ooh, that's what you should really be having with your brown M&Ms is chocolate milk.
You should, yeah. Do you get the chocolate milk from the container, or do you remember the Nestle squeeze bottles that we used to have as a kid? Right?
You kind of secretly hope that you don't stir it up just enough so you had some waiting for you at the bottom.
That nice little thin layer of chocolate sauce at the bottom.
Gosh. Welcome to the Nintendo Drive, where we sometimes talk about Nintendo. Justin Masson, I'm so glad that you're here. People can support the show. You can go to youtube.com/YumiCapri, where we post this video version, sort of, and you can leave comments and be part of the show. It's super fun. And if you like it even just a little bit, you can throw a tip in the old tip jar at patreon.com/YumiCapri. Justin, we understand your milk preferences, but for the people who don't know you, who are you? Where can they find you and all of your good stuff, my friend?
Oh my gosh. So my name is Justin Masson. I am one of the hosts and founding members of a little podcast called The Nintendo Dads. And we are what I would used to say, we used to be the most wholesome Nintendo show on the internet. And then someone decided to take that moniker from us and put it over here. But we are a bunch of dads that talk about Nintendo stuff. We've been doing it for nearly 8 years.
Wow.
Nearly 8 years. We have some spinoff shows, Dads After Dark. We have Game Pass News, part of our feed, Retro Logic. We have a bunch of games. We've kind of created a small community, but we love talking about video games. And you can find me over at Masson23, where I sometimes talk about video games. But you can find us on Twitter at Nintendo Dads, or all the social medias, Nintendo Dads as well. But that's us.
Very cool, man. Well, I'm glad you're here. Unfortunately, Kato is out picking potatoes or something this week.
Yeah, I'm excited to answer all of the fans' questions to Kato about Animal Crossing. I'm going to tell you why it's a hot piece of trash.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, well, let's go.
Just coming out with the fire. Please subscribe to my podcast. Also, I hate the game that you all love. So an interesting strategy from Justin. We'll see how that works out from you. This is a first. I've never done the Nintendo Drive with anybody else.
Really?
So you are the first person to jump in.
That is a real. I'm not even going to ask here. That is really quite the honor. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
We gotta wave our Canadian flags around. I'm tempted to talk about bagged milk, but instead, Justin, I think we might just jump on into the show.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Why don't we go ahead and start talking about what the heck you've been playing, my friend?
What have I been playing? So I've been playing. I have some really hard addictions to Fortnite and Apex Legends, so I've been playing that. Yeah. So the new season for Fortnite is much more like Apex Legends.
Yeah.
And you can start to see some similarities between the two. So I'm really enjoying that. On the Switch, I have not been playing a lot of Nintendo games, but I will put one in your Rolodex to look into. Young Souls.
Ooh.
Young Souls. That came out in early March. It is a side-scroll beat-em-up RPG about two twin brother and sister. And it's got some great accessibility options. It's a challenge. I really enjoy it. It's a really cool game. It actually kind of made me feel very early on. It had some like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time arcade game feelings when I first played it.
Yep.
So that I've been playing a bit of, but I've also been playing Tunic.
Yes, Zelda Fox.
Which is not a Nintendo game, should be a Nintendo game.
Yet.
And I also 100% suspect we're going to see a Tunic announcement for the Nintendo Switch at some point this year. I could almost see it on like the E3 sizzle reel.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And it's going to come because it definitely feels like it fits there. But I've been loving my moment with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it looks hard as hell, man. It looks like, people are kind of calling it inspired by Zelda, but also Dark Souls. So like you're going around, you're collecting things to that you then go upgrade your Zelda Fox a little better.
It's got a little bit of Death's Door feel to it as well.
Yes.
It's got some really nice combinations. The art style is adorable. Their use of the manual, right, to show you what to do.
Yeah.
Just it is such a fantastically game. I've only got a couple hours into it, but I'm like it just that question of like what has rent in your head or what
lives rent free
it's
in your
that
head.
game. It's that game on a loop, and I think it's fantastic, and I'm so hoping it comes to Switch.
It's funny. There are a couple of those games that Xbox has landed in the last couple of years that feel Nintendo-ish. Like it's just a really interesting kind of thing that happens every once in a while. I think Ori kind of falls into that camp. Death's Door launched into Xbox as well. Like, and now Tunic as well. So, well,
I think a game that is so you can see is so heavily inspired, right? Like they don't even try and hide it.
They call it Tunic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is Link even wearing? Like, it's so obvious.
Exactly. Like they could have just said like short elf with green cap, and we like even a little bit more on the nose there, folks.
Could have called him Link. It could have called it the Legend of Lincoln.
Yeah. How do you spell Link backwards?
Maybe Tunic was better.
Tunic's probably better. Yeah.
If we ran the developer that made Tunic, I don't know who made it. Oh man! Well, shout out to that game. That's awesome, man. You're not playing Kirby though. No. You know that Nintendo made a game. You're aware of this.
Yeah, so true story here, Sean. I have not purchased any Nintendo made games for almost 4 or 5 months now.
Wow, there's been a lot.
I know. I did not play the Pokemon Arceus. I did not do Triangle Strategy.
Oh, wow.
The closest thing that was on my radar was actually Advanced Wars. And then obviously that got delayed.
Nice going.
And then the next one that's actually on my radar is sports.
Strikers or Wii Sports.
Well, Strikers and Wii Sports. My kids love the sports game. So I was like, we're definitely getting that for sure. But Strikers is my next one. And I'm like, it's a while. I've really taken a concerted effort in 2022 to play games that I'm interested in and want to play, and that because I think the more and more I realize like we only have so much time, right? And this is not like a philosophical like I'm dying, but rather like there is that, but I only have so much time.
Yeah.
And so I want to spend my time and energy on things that I'm really interested in regarding the games I play. And I think Kirby looks good. I think Kirby is awesome. People seem to be enjoying it. But if I was to like spend time doing that takes me away from some other game that I'm really enjoying, like Tunic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make a very concerted, like, not just to get caught in the FOMO of a game, right? The conversation that occurs on Twitter as we lead up to it, the weekend of it, the several days afterwards, like all the hype around it. I'm trying to say, like, I am happy that you are loving that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you love that. And I may very well love that, or I could, but I don't. I think you and I both know, like, we have such a backlog anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That I'm like, I'm not helping myself. I'm not. And then I'm like, so how about instead of like having a sample size of something, I enjoy and have the actual course of it. Right.
And so, yeah,
I'm trying to really take that in my 2022 approach. That may inevitably break at some point. It's almost like my New Year's resolution that I somehow kept. But that's the way I'm playing it this year.
Well, we'll see. Now it's officially recorded. It's on the internet. People have heard you say it. We'll see how this plays out as more and more games continue to come along. I'm the opposite, man, and it's destroying my mental health, to be honest with you. So I actually appreciate your approach. It's like I bought Triangle Strategy. I even bought Smash Ultimate for the first time. I never had it before. It was during the Gaming for Guru thing. People were like, let's play Smash, and I'm like, I don't have it, and I don't want it digital because that's just a pain in the butt with the kids and all the different switches and everything that are here. And so Tony Baker, speaking of friends in Edmonton, Alberta, it was to that point you could have picked a couple people here. So I could have. You know, it's very specific, but
I picked you.
It was me.
I picked you.
Yeah, I love you for it. So yeah, I'm piling up on games. My backlog is out of control. But that did not stop me from spending a couple hours with Kirby as I bought that. And I'm playing the excuse of course I want it, but the kids. We have to think of the children. Like, we have to make sure that they have the latest and greatest games.
I did play the demo. I think the demo was fantastic.
I think the demo undersells it.
Like, when I was done, I was like, oh, I could see why. And there's been a couple times that I have just about headed over to GameStop to pick it up.
But just go to Best Buy instead. We boycott GameStop.
And Best Buy are literally across the parking lot.
Same
so
here.
One.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, now I have a choice.
So, but I was like, no. I'm gonna hold. But like, what I played, I loved the fact that everyone's like, this is essentially like Mario Odyssey 2. Right? The gameplay looks fantastic. Like, it sounds like a great game for the family.
Co-op.
To be honest, like, sorry,
I know, co-op
right?
is very cool.
Yeah. But like my kids right now are like, hey, let's play some Mario Party and Mario Kart. And I'm like,
Sweet.
well, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah,
right? So.
yeah. Loving those new tracks. I was pretty middle on the demo, to be honest with you. But I was kind of all in no matter what. And whatever Nintendo said was coming out this year, I'm buying it. I'm just being an absolute dum-dum about it. But I can excuse it because I have to do this for the Nintendo podcast, Justin. Like, this is just it.
Dude,
and the family. I have no choice. I'm a victim.
Yeah. Think about the children and the audience, right? Exactly. I mean, you are really a servant to them.
I am. I live my life in service to others, of course. I was a little middled on the demo, to be honest with you. I thought it was like, ooh, this is like, it's Kirby. We know this is, who it's designed for. We know what the audience is. But damn it, if I wasn't playing and replaying levels yesterday to complete all the objectives, find all the hidden waddle dees, and do all the weird things. Like, when you I don't even know what exactly Kirby is wrapping his mouth around on this thing, but you basically create like a giant Cheerio, like almost like a diaphragm on it, and he just like blows air, and it creates an O, and you complete a sign on the top of a rooftop, and that's one of the objectives. You just stand in place, and it's like, you did it. Yeah. And it's like, Nintendo, please, more of this. It's basically an achievement system. Or a trophy system. Like, I want that more. It causes me to go play and replay levels. So I'm not as far into it as I would like to be, but I'm continuously going back to levels, and I'm really kind of enjoying that, actually. So yeah, and there's like time trial stuff that wasn't in the demo. There's like you just race through these courses, and there's different objectives with it. So man.
My offset from, looking from afar and from what I've read and heard from people who are into it is, it's like, I think Kirby very much has it's for, the baby's version of gaming, super easy. You're not, right. But it sounds like they've done a couple things to really kind of move the needle for those gamers who are not hardcore gamers, but are like, hey, I want completionism. I want time trials. I want I want a variety.
There's something
to get
there
more
for you.
Value out of it. It feels like there is something there for everyone.
Yeah.
And again, I think just the art style from what I saw too looks absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we can get into some nitty gritty stuff about like stuff that happens off in the distance seems to be happening at about a quarter of the frame rate. You can definitely notice there's like some choppiness over there, but it does look great. Eventually that main theme song kind of goes off to the side, because that was very annoying for me. The first couple levels, like the same 4 bars of music over and over and over again. That was kind of driving me nuts. And that's a very childish thing as well. Like, let's just have this catchy little melody just over and over. But yeah, I think there's lots to talk about with Kirby, but I know Kato is also playing it. We've got questions from the Muffin Mon and famous Seumas over here. I actually might save them. so that
Sure.
Kato and I can tackle those next week. Because you obviously hate Kirby, as Bobby would want you to.
100% true. 100% true. It is usually Kirby is the Grim Reaper of a video game system. So
That's
I
what we know.
assume the Switch is now dead.
Yeah. But overall, I'm actually enjoying it. And it's, I was just playing Horizon Forbidden West on PS5, and this is the perfect game for after that. It's so chill. I just want to sit back and relax and float around, and it's super fun. I get it. So
that's crazy, because I have heard that Horizon and Kirby are essentially just the same game.
yeah, it is a little overkill. Yeah.
Aloy feels like you're really going to that well a lot. Yeah.
But seems to be working out for me. So,
good.
But there you go. Let's slam the brakes on that conversation. We've got some breaking news. This literally is breaking news. And for those who don't know, this is the Nintendo Drive. We have car puns all over the place. And breaking news is like breaks, like BRAKE. Yeah. That's what's in the show notes. I just want you guys to know that. But we got some news. I was like, I don't know where all the questions are. Where's everybody's questions? We better remind people to send in your questions. And it was like 6 minutes later, we get this update.
Yeah, Nintendo's good for doing that.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed to spring 2023. This is in from Nintendo Life. Originally scheduled for late 2022 release window. Aonuma presented the short update and apologized to fans that we had been expecting to play the game for some time later on this year. He went on to mention again that the sequel's sky-based gameplay and assured fans that the development team was hard at work on what is still officially called the sequel to The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. He said in order to make the game's experience something special, the entire development team is continuing to work diligently on this game, so please wait a little longer. Justin, your take.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting. Now we had not had any hard dates for sure. It was still announced in the last call as to be is 2022. I think it was just that was all it was announced. So there's a couple things that I think about in regards to this. So I'm going to put on my business Justin hat.
Oh, here we go.
For a little bit to think about. As an FYI, Nintendo's fiscal year ends March 31st. So we're coming up right against their fiscal year right away.
Yep.
So from a stockholder's perspective, getting this information out and aware to the stockholders ahead of, and the audience ahead of the actual investors call, which will occur in about a month from now, is kind of critical to kind of get the groundwork. Because what's going to show up in their next year's planning would have been Breath of the Wild. They would have been looking for a date. And this would, again, show stability in regards to what is the content that Nintendo is rolling out in 2022 and where is their financial revenue going to be coming from. So getting ahead of this on March 31st is kind of critical. So I thought they did a great job there. Couple pieces of information I want to parse out as we think about that. The first one is the fact he says spring of 2023.
Yes.
If you actually look at Nintendo's calendar year, spring actually for them occurs April 1st and beyond. So this would not be occurring in Q1 of 2023, but rather Q2. In regards to the actual
calendar. I got you.
Calendar year. Fiscal and calendar year can sometimes get a little bit mixed up. So that's a very interesting thing. So they are actually getting ahead of this and saying, do not expect this to be part of our fiscal earnings in 2022 to 2023. This will show up in our 2023 to 2024 fiscal year earnings. That's an interesting move in regards to just repositioning. So that's important to know. The other thing that I begin to think about as we talk about it is, and I hate to go down this path, right? Is this really keying up potentially for what might be a Switch Pro successor in that time frame? And again, if you think about it, the original Switch coming back in 2017, this now launching with Breath of the Wild. Right? Could we see the Switch successor? Now, I'm going to pause here and believe that I don't believe it is a Switch successor. I believe it is a Switch upgrade.
Agreed.
Right? Similar to a 3DS to 3DS XL, whatever you want to call it. Is this where we're seeing that pairing? Right? Is this potentially, hey, in early or end of March, we may launch the console, and by the way, you now have Breath of the Wild. The truth about Breath of the Wild 2 is it doesn't matter where it lands because it's going to sell. Right now, it does take it out from the holiday season, which is what we were originally thinking in 2022. The question now from a organizational and business perspective is what is now going in the 2022 holiday spot where we assume Breath of the Wild is going to be? Is this an opportunity to find out a game such as Mario, right? What is that team been working on? Could this be a reveal at E3? Mario Odyssey 2, Super Mario Galaxy 3, whatever the heck you want to call it, is coming to that window. Because right now we know that they have got Q1, Q2 really stocked up. Q3, the furthest thing that we know on their calendar is September, which is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. We don't know what's past that.
Presumably, that was purposeful, I think.
Yeah, presumably
I think that was purposeful.
Before that, we should get Splatoon 3, and we should end up getting Mario and Rabbids. I suspect Splatoon is July. Mario Rabbids most likely August. But we don't have any insight after that.
As if that wouldn't be enough. Like, let's be honest, 2022 is ridiculously stacked. This is a terrible year for you to make the decision that you've made, which is to, not buy games. But we'll see how that works out for you. I'm jealous of the Slurpee.
I just said games I don't find joy in. Let me tell you, once I get into July, it's going to be like slapping me in the face,
Fair enough. We had a lot of people jumping in on this news. Our good friend Andros from Nintendo Pals wrote in.
As a joke.
And he's also thinking very seriously, very businesslike. He asks, what do you guys think of Aonuma's new haircut? To be honest, I didn't recognize him at first. He says, well, who cares, Andros? Well, actually, I just want to hear Sean and Justin talk about random stuff like haircuts. All right?
Here we go.
There we go.
I think it's a killer haircut. It's nice. It's tight. It actually makes him look younger. I'm gonna be real honest.
Yep. It made me wonder about my own life choices, to be honest. I was distracted. Like, I had to be reading subtitles. I had to pay attention. But at the same time, I'm like, do I need new glasses? Like, do I need to, I don't know, watch what I'm eating? I got to, get a new suit jacket. Like, I
watched the video 3 times, only because 2 of those times distracted by the hair.
Just distracted. Yeah.
It's like, holy cow, sir.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
What a change. Like, really, when you think about it, you kind of had what was the floor like when you really want to think about it?
Sweep that thing twice. Question. Do you think he just let it grow the entire COVID? And this was like a COVID haircut, right? Like, I'm cleaning up afterwards.
Yep. Yeah, he's getting down to business.
And did anyone give him feedback before he got in front of the camera? It was like, you know what you need? You need a fresh haircut.
Just get that haircut.
Yeah.
Well, you never know what's going to happen now. This is why we tune into these videos. But he kept it short. Speaking of the video itself, he kept it very to the point. They kind of re-showed what we've seen already.
We saw a new clip.
Did we? Was it
new?
We
did see one new clip, which was he pulls out a sword from behind him. The camera shot is here at his arm.
Yeah.
You see the bionic arm more. He comes around. He puts what looks to be the Master Sword in some type of flame or fire. That is a new shot that we had not seen before.
And then it broke. It was so weird that they shot. It didn't break. Just broke right in his hands.
Yeah, weird.
The re-emphasis on the sky, I think it was nice to have that reminder, but I think it also speaks to the delay itself, and that maybe people are starting to think or maybe they've forgotten that there's an expansion that's happening here. We're not just getting the same game, same map and everything, that this really is a sequel. And I'm excited to see more. And to your point about they've got a bit of a roadmap, a bit of an opening now to maybe talk about it. But us understanding that it's not coming out anytime soon. I do feel like that changes things a little bit. I'm very curious on E3. But before I get to that, let's bring in Tech Mike at Tech Mike Reviews, who says, what will Nintendo's holiday game be this year as Zelda is being pushed to 2023? Or does Nintendo even need one, Business Justin?
They don't need one. So here's the thing. They could go back to the market. So they do have Pokemon, right? But they've always been pairing Pokemon with something, and that's going to sell, right? So that's not a shock. They don't need something. But I think in that space, it is a good opportunity where you put a heavy hitter, you're going to have high sales.
Yep.
I think there's a couple things. I do wonder what the Mario team is working on. So that could be an E3.
Yep.
The other one that's been a big rumor, and of course I'm a big advocate for this one, is there is a rumor of a Donkey Kong Country game that has been sitting out there as well. So that could be a good
give it to me
holiday platformer. Although I feel like it doesn't have the same level of clout as Mario.
Yeah.
So that may be an October game as opposed to. But I think if there's a Mario game, I suspect it's going to be around that time frame. Nintendo's also going to promote their Mario Kart again. Yeah. They're going to really promote that. And of course, by the way, here's how you get these DLC tracks. So they're going to spend some time in that pocket. But those are things that come to mind. I think Pikmin is still out there, but I don't know if Pikmin is a big enough draw for a holiday game. Whereas I think you look at your top tiers like Mario and Zelda, they would be. But Sean, what are you thinking about this?
It's tough, man, because when I start to think about, you alluded to this earlier, as Zelda is slated now for spring of 2023, I my mind almost goes to, okay, then what's the holiday season for that? I actually am a little bit more curious about the holiday season for 2023, only because of what happened in 2017. In that if Zelda comes out and it's alongside a new Switch, do they just rinse and repeat the playbook that we saw in 2017 where they have holiday and that's Odyssey 2 or the next Mario 3D game or something like that? I think that could be really curious. I'm also wondering, like, I don't know if Nintendo is really going to be slowing up on the Mario train. I don't know that I really like. We've typically seen Nintendo being split between console and handheld, and what I think the result here is they can just do all the Mario all in one system. And we've been getting a lot of Mario games. We're gonna get and I mean like spin-offs, like we're getting Strikers, we're getting Mario plus Rabbids. Could we get another Mario game later on this year?
I 100% believe that it's
like
that's
Bowser's Fury is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, I mean, again,
style.
If you think of Strikers, you think of Rabbids, right? These are games that are not being done by Nintendo.
Right.
They're being done by Next Level Games. Right. Camelot did the golf and tennis, right? Ubisoft is doing Rabbids. So I mean, I don't think that those are pulling away from it. So I think that we are cycle time for it for sure. I mean, it's going to have been 5 years since Odyssey originally came out. It was a 2017 game. Yeah. So I think we're due. I would not be shocked at all if in E3 we're going to get some kind of like a cap flies across the screen all year. Here we go. Yeah. Right. And
right with the movie, by the way.
Yeah. The movie's coming out as well in November. So the timing of it, right? Yeah. Mario's a very hot commodity normally, but the timing of it really would make sense. Yeah. And I think we are seeing a little bit of a rinse and repeat of 2017. Definitely. Splatoon 3, right? Breath of the Wild, right? So you're not getting new Mario Kart, but you're getting Mario Kart Track. So we're kind of returning to those
so true.
Mario and Rabbids, right? We're literally doing 2017 over again. I would not be shocked if we get an E3 reveal.
Yeah. What about Zelda though? Like last year was a pretty significant anniversary. They celebrated it. Okay. I'm curious because I want more HD remakes. And I was one when they revealed Skyward Sword HD last year. I'm like, why that one? Like I just, Groose is terrible. You can't convince me otherwise. I really don't like him. But I played it and I loved it. And I had played it on the Wii before. I had made up my mind that game was not for me. I played it again on the Switch, and for whatever reason, maybe I was just enlightened, or I don't know what it was, but maybe it was the controls. Maybe it just ran a little bit better. Maybe I was in a better place mentally, I don't know, but I enjoyed the heck out of that game, and I'm very curious to see what the ongoing strategy for Zelda is. And I think Nintendo, if we ran Nintendo, perhaps we would have a Wind Waker HD or maybe a Twilight Princess HD. We've kind of heard these things. They existed on the Wii U before. You know, just speaking of replaying a playbook, just keep bringing everything else, all the Wii U games, just keep them coming, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other part of it as well is I think we've got some games out there in the peripheral that would be very interesting to see brought over that were not huge sellers that are as well known as. So Oracle of Ages is a great example.
Oh, wow.
It, right. Is it 4 seasons?
If we're going handheld, it's got to be A Link Between Worlds. Like we need that game coming over.
There's another great example. Like a lot of these other games that, I mean, I think we could see some kind of 2D, very much in the style of Link's Awakening brought back of some of these older games. That could end up kind of padding out that that catalog a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw that, I guess I would say.
Yeah. But is that holiday? Like I kind of like put that around my own, right?
No, that's just padding out the library.
Yeah. Yeah. But which aside from like they don't need that kind of attention in anything except for holiday. That's the only gap that they've got right now. Yeah. So if that is something, I'd be very curious to see do they do like a Wind Waker HD and right among Splatoon and Mario plus, right? Like there's a lot that's going to happen and Live Alive, whatever you call it.
July 22nd, near your and my birthday.
Birthdays. Yes. July's. I like it. I like it very much. Yeah, very interesting. I wonder. RJ Kern, our Kern on Twitter says, what do y'all think of the Zelda news, and do you find Gordon Lightfoot good or bad, eh?
Ooh, Gordon Lightfoot is a national treasure.
It's a Canadian treasure reference here for anybody who doesn't really.
For sure it is.
Doesn't really know. Yeah. What do you think?
National treasure, Gordon Lightfoot is.
Okay,
right? I mean, like literally, I think he is, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness gracious! Do you have anything else that you have on Zelda?
No, I mean, I think those are my perspectives. I think it's very interesting. Again, them getting ahead of it. I'm curious, and your commentary is right. I'm curious about what does this mean for E3? Yeah. Right? Did they?
Because they always have one game.
Yeah. So what is that one game that they're really going to highlight? It also is interesting because I mean, this is very reminiscent of the original Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Delays after delays.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the fact it was pushed into a spring and summer component of it as well. And that potentially they pulled the trigger and letting people know about the game way too early.
I wonder. I'm curious on that because
Go ahead. This for me is very out of character for Nintendo, except for Breath of the Wild.
Except
Breath
for
of the Wild
Zelda,
is like the one no, that data tracks. But normally it's like we show you a game that is available in the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. And we know we're going to deliver on it.
Yeah.
They've shown this. When did this originally get revealed? 20.
Oh man.
20, I think.
Yeah, maybe even 19 at this point.
Yeah. So this has been out there for a little bit. And we've had to delay, we've had to push, we had to move it. It is one of those things that's great because we know it's coming. And I'd rather they do it right, which is great. And so I'm fine with that, right? And we're probably only really looking at if in delay this way 5 to 6 months, right? Yeah. So it's not years and decades. But it's Nintendo is very much usually, here's what it is, we've got it. This is a long look, but I'd be curious about your thoughts.
What would you? Well, let me ask you a question on this point in terms of like your confidence in the 2022 this time yesterday. Like if I was to ask you yesterday, or maybe you've recorded on the Nintendo Dads, or like, because I have a prediction. I had a prediction. Kato and I launched the year, and we put in predictions. It's at the bottom of our show notes. I just continue to be so good at this, Justin. It just like in the beginning of January, my first prediction was that we will get an update that Breath of the Wild is releasing in 2023. That was the first thing that I said.
Wow.
Where were you before today in terms of your confidence in the 2022 window that they had?
Yeah, I think I think we had our predictions episode as well. I think I'd have to go back and check. I was pretty confident. Like feeling like they had already like delayed one.
Yeah.
Right. And the Christmas timing sounded perfect.
Yeah.
And you were already creating a stacked year. And the other part of it, I think we were always thinking was that like it was going to be near the end of the Switch's cycle before we begin the new one. So we were getting that, that timing was about due.
Yeah.
I felt pretty confident in it, but sure, look, at every once in a while I can be wrong.
I know. Well, I was right. Let it be known.
You were right. Yeah, it's fantastic. I was right about Mario Strikers.
Dude, same here. That was actually my last prediction is Strikers. I put 2 games together. We're going to get Strikers. And I also want a Dr. Mario this year.
Wow.
I'd like not Dr. Luigi. I'd like a legit, Dr. Mario kind of thing.
Good.
Yeah.
I'd like that a lot.
Didn't really see a lot of things coming. I mean, Nintendo's such a funny thing to predict for.
Yes. Yeah, you're just throwing stuff in the air and hoping that it lands. Right.
Which reminds me, you've been on the show before. I'm just realizing this. We did when we did our predictions.
Yes, we did. We did your predictions. Yeah, E3 predictions. That is right. So I appreciate that. But I think it's the only first time I've soloed with you before.
That's right.
Right, been in the passer seat, not just the back seat. Right. So
just come along.
Yeah,
right here.
Other than being in the trunk, which is sometimes what happens too. So that's
sometimes you can't, but we don't want to break any seatbelt rules.
No, we don't.
So we throw you in the trunk.
No,
so
that's a good point.
That's all good. What do you want to see from Nintendo as we kind of go forward now? They've told us we're not getting it this year. Do you prefer that they just go on radio silence at this point, or do we still want to start seeing a little something?
I don't. I'd prefer don't tease me. Like you either show up or you don't show up.
Yeah.
So what I don't really want is I don't want a trailer at E3. Mm-hmm. I don't want that at all. I want you next time I hear from you, I want you to say March 23rd or April 2nd. Here it is. Boom. Done for sure. Pre-order now or whatever it is. That's what I want to hear from you. Because I don't want it ruined. I don't want anything else done. Just give me that. Move on, compartmentalize it. I don't think Nintendo will have a challenge this year. I don't think Nintendo's going to be challenged to tell their story.
Agreed.
I think it's going to be I think the only thing they need to do is just tell their story well.
Yeah.
Right. They've got a lot of content. They're ready for it. Their sales are not slowing down.
Right.
They're obviously investing hard in the Nintendo Switch Online. We've seen that already.
Yeah.
You're going to continue to see that strategy play out. If you're looking for any kind of DLC for Splatoon, for Mario Party,
anything but Animal Crossing or Smash,
Animal Crossing,
they're all done.
Wii Sports or Nintendo Sports, that's where that DLC is going to be.
Yeah.
They're going to lean really heavily into that, I think, in E3. But I think that they've found a bit of a groove, and I think this year there's going to be a huge year for them. Even despite the fact that this is getting moved, they're going to have a huge fiscal year.
Agreed. And I actually think that anything that they do say about Zelda, basically between now and next April 1st, is only going to serve to take away from all those other games that they've already kind of got listed here. So I don't know. Like it's an interesting move, interesting timing. I think that you spoke about like probably the most realistic reason of why today. And or maybe they're just waiting for like Sony to announce something, because Sony announced their whole new subscription service and they're like, okay,
did they?
Well, yeah, they did. They formally announced the 3 tiers, and it's still called PlayStation Plus. You have 3 different versions of it. Listen to the PlayStation Drive. We'll be covering all that with Ryan and Matt later on this week. But that's a thing, And luckily, we can now talk about this instead of the Oscars. Let's just move on from that.
I like how like Nintendo does, and I mean this is a great example. It's such a Nintendo thing, right? Last weekend with GDC, there were some trailers dropped, some big announcements, right? And then like on Monday, Nintendo's like, hey, do you want what we call folders? But it's not really. And everyone's like, oh my God, stop everything.
Exactly.
And I was like, I just feel bad for every other game that just tried to do anything because Nintendo decided to update their system to circa 2012.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Nintendo's just sucked the air in like this. Nintendo saying we're not giving you Breath of the Wild is literally taking the auction from everyone else.
I know.
And you're like, and it's a negative statement. It's not positive.
Yep. It's a weird flex.
Works with Nintendo.
Yeah, that's what. But we all participate. We're all to blame. Very cool. I'm very curious to hear what other people have to say about the Zelda delay. People can go and leave comments in the Discord. It's free to join. You don't have to be a patron to join the Discord. It's very cool. Or leave comments on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/YumiCapri. We do have a couple questions specifically acknowledging that you've joined the show this week, Justin Masson.
All right.
So we'll welcome some of our friends into the carpool. Hambone Johnny over on Discord said, "Why are the coolest people from Canada?" Justin Masson?
I think it's just by nature. I think why are the coolest people from Canada? Because we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Good point.
Because we have free healthcare.
Yep.
And because we have a strong addiction to maple syrup and poutine.
Yep. I couldn't have said it better myself, actually.
Exactly.
That is the exact formula. I think that, I mean, really? Like, I just don't understand not having free healthcare. Like, I don't want to get just like what?
So confusing to me.
We make decisions for we have to pay for healthcare for our dogs, for our pets. Yeah. And that stings.
That does hurt.
It hurts a lot. It's like what you look at this furry little animal, you're like, you cost me a shit ton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thanks for using that sock there, buddy.
You have to look at your kids in the same way or your own self. Like, man.
No, then you're making questions. You're like, do you need healthcare?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you just
shirt
walk
on your back?
that off? Right? Is that bone supposed to be like that? I don't know.
Let me just YouTube how to tape that up for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
I'll get that done. I think that's why. And people should just come on up. I don't understand it. They just come move up. It's not hard. I don't like. There's a test, but it's not all that difficult.
I'd love to see what the Canada test is, and I think we'd probably both fail somehow.
I think so too.
Yeah, I don't think it's just hockey related questions.
Yeah, I'd be sitting there in the room and it'd be like, "What are the lyrics to the national anthem?" And I'd be sitting there like humming it along, like out loud.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you ever? So this is such a Canadian question, but if you were at a hockey game and then they switch it to French during the O Canada?
Oh yeah.
Did you continue singing in English or do you go French? Yes. And also, when you're in English, are you like, I think I'm right?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Okay.
I'm a little lost. I don't know it in French, actually. I wish I did.
Okay.
I actually would like to do that a little bit. And they're changing the words and I can't keep up.
My daughter looked at me recently when we were at hockey game and singing, and I was like, oh no, am I wrong? And I was like, no, like don't question me, child. I know what I'm doing here.
Child, know your place. C. Wagmeyer in Discord says, Justin, what do you typically do during Jesse's Pokemon Minute?
Power naps is one of my favorite things. Nice. Power naps for sure. A couple weeks ago was my taxes.
Yeah. Did your taxes?
Yeah, did my taxes during it, and then if it gets past a minute, really contemplate my life in general.
Yeah,
and whether I've made some smart decisions.
Updating your resignation letter.
Usually, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good thing. For people who don't know, on the Nintendo Dads, Justin is actually a huge, and by huge I mean not at all, Pokemon fan. And they dedicate 1 minute for Jesse to talk about Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's actually hilarious. Like I love that that's a thing.
It is, and the Robo Jesse has now become like a mainstay. I don't know if you've heard Robo Jesse.
I was on when it was the first one. That was my episode.
Like, here's the thing though, the thing I love about Jesse's Pokemon Minute is how much joy it brings him.
Yep.
Legitimately, like not even, I'm taking the Justin character off, how much joy it brings him and how much fun he has with it and just how much people love that I hate it.
Yeah.
Is all of those things that I love. So, it's great.
Yeah. You guys definitely bring, I don't know if necessarily that's like a wrestling thing, but everything is like amped up like wrestling, like all any conflicts that you have. Yeah.
I'm a little bit, you and I've talked about it before, a little bit behind the curtain, but I'm a full believer that it's the most boring podcast. If you're like, are you excited for it? Yes. Is it awesome? Yes.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
End of the show.
Yeah.
Right? So
we did it.
This is the worst thing. So I'm a little bit of a believer of turning up my dial a little bit and liking to hate certain things to make sure people also have a voice in this. So,
well, as a Nintendo or as a Pokemon super fan, I have to ask, who is your favorite Pokemon?
Char barbecue wobble puffet.
Wobbuffet actually turns out to be my daughter's favorite. She
Really?
loves Wobbuffet, and it's amazing because it was years ago that you had the.
It's so funny because if for some odd reason we have the best community, as I'm sure you also have the best community. But if the community is out and they find a wobble puffet, like I'll all of a sudden get a DM and there's just a picture of a wobble puffet. I was like, you guys are the worst, but the best. All the time, like in our Discord, I get tagged. I'm like, oh, what's going? Oh, it must be something important scrolling on. Someone's found a stuffed animal. I was like,
oh my gosh, I love it. Well, Justin Masson, I have really enjoyed having you on the show this week. We have questions from the Muffin Mon, famous Seumas, Cheesy. We have a couple others that we're going to save for next week. Some have to do with Kirby. We have your questions, you guys. We got kind of sideswiped, if you will, had a little run-in with the Zelda news. So we want to focus on that this week. But Justin, this has been so much fun. I hope that you come back sometime.
Anytime.
Hopefully Kato is done picking her potatoes or whatever she's doing over there.
If she's not, I can come back again next week. And
sounds good.
I can play Animal Crossing for a hot minute and tell you why I don't like it.
I like it. Okay, there we go. That's what we'll have you back for. Once again, do you want to tell the fine folks out there where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna just say I'm gonna direct you to the Nintendo Dads. Just type in Nintendo Dads in Google, and you're gonna find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Patreon. All those things. But if you just want to follow me and my nonsense, I talk about parenting stuff, voiceover work, Nintendo every once in a while, and how awesome it is to be Canadian. Head over to @Masson23. That's @MASSON23 on Twitter. And there
you go. I love it. Producer Ryan has all the links in the show notes for you guys, so click away, follow. I wouldn't be doing this show if it wasn't for Justin Masson. We've been friends for a very long time. I mean, that's very true. You encouraged Bobby to become the Nintendo guru and set a bunch of us on our path. So there's actually an incredible family tree that we all lead up to, the Nintendo dads, soon to be the Nintendo granddads, I'm sure, as you go from 8 to 18 years of podcasting.
I am just blessed to have people like you in my life as a friend.
Same, man.
I appreciate you, and I watch from afar. Love the fact that we get to spend time in this space together, and we have met, we have touched flesh and had pints.
Yes,
which makes me a very happy man.
And if anybody out there appreciates me as well as much as Justin, you can follow me on Twitter and on Twitch @Sean Capri. You can support the show at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And I want to say a special thank you to Nagachaka for joining on in, newest patron over at patreon.com. We're coming up on 80 patrons. You guys are nuts and you're amazing. Awesome. This is the end of the show. That is it for the Nintendo Drive this week. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, we wish Kato all the best. We can't wait to have her back. And Kato, come back to us, please. Goodness gracious. The Nintendo Drive is fueled by patrons at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful to the nearly 70 patrons who support us each and every month, with our special thanks to our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team, and Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on this show and the Xbox Drive. You can support Jonathan at youtube.com/PM Entertainment. Our platinum producers, Robbie Bobby Miller and Trucker Sloth. Our gold members, Argo, Benji Kong, Brendan Myers, Dallas Robbins, Dano, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Heather Boney, James Johnson, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, Mr. and Mrs. Nasty Boots, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, and Xavier Reyes. If you enjoyed this show and you'd like to support independent content, you can go to patreon.com/YumiCapri and choose the tier that's right for you.